What happened to me shouldn't happen to anyone, but I'm glad it did. I never thought I'd find myself facing a judge, a disabled black veteran in a wheelchair, grappling with the label of a criminal. I've always been known as the kind-hearted one, the one who would lay down my life for my niece Raya, who means the world to me. Yet here I was, encapsulated in a courtroom, haunted by the brutality of a moment when I instinctively defended her against a man who thought he could intimidate us. Kyle Denton had targeted Raya, his derogatory words slicing through the air like a knife. Protecting her came naturally, but it cost me my freedom. The media painted me as the veteran who snapped, feeding the narrative that overshadowed my years of service and sacrifice. As I sat in that crowded room, I could feel the weight of judgment pressing down on me. My public defender, Reggie, fumbled through his arguments, yet all I could think about was how scared Raya had been. When Judge Rohr asked me to stand, a heavy silence filled the room. My heart raced as I battled my wheelchair's restraints, the pain ripping through me with each effort. But the moment I finally rose was more than just about standing. It was a testament to my fight for dignity. The judge lowered her voice, showing compassion as she imposed community service instead of jail time. Relief washed over me, not just because I wouldn't be incarcerated, but because I was finally seen for who I truly am, beyond a label. As Raya and I drove home, she quietly remarked, "You stood up for me, Uncle Leon." And in that moment, I realized that standing up for what matters isn't always about physical strength. Sometimes, it's about the courage to protect those we love, no matter the odds against us. "Your Honor, I can't." Leon's voice cracked as he gripped the arms of his wheelchair, his eyes welling with despair. The courtroom fell silent, all eyes on Judge Rohr, who eyed him over her glasses.
"Time, Mr. Mathers."
But Leon looked desperately to his public defender, Reggie, who was fidgeting, his face pale. "Please, Leon, just this once," Reggie whispered, his voice trembling. Leon glanced at Raya, his niece, sitting in the front row, her small hands clasped tightly together. He inhaled sharply, muscles screaming in protest as he attempted to rise. The room held its breath. The air felt thick with tension. I'm trying," he murmured, beads of sweat forming on his brow. "Why are we even here?" Kyle pressed from the other side, a smirk plastered across his face. "A veteran acting like a thug? No honor in that?" Gasps rippled through the crowd, and Leon faltered, dropping back into his chair, humiliated. "Enough!" Raya's voice rang out, strong and clear. "You don't understand." "Stop," the judge snapped, her patience fraying. "Mr. Mathers, I need to see you stand." Each word from the judge struck Leon like a blow. He wanted to scream that it wasn't about the law. It was about respect, dignity. "You all think you know me," he growled, emotion boiling. "But I'm more than a label. I fought for you." The courtroom was silent, the only sound being the soft sobs from Raya. Finally, Judge Rohr's voice softened. "Community service and counseling, Mr. Mathers. You've served your time." Relief crashed over him like a wave, but with it, shame pooled in the pit of his stomach, as his eyes flitted to Kyle's mocking grin. Leon turned away, fighting tears, not of defeat, but for the brave man he was beneath the labels and judgments. The courtroom's atmosphere hung heavy with anticipation, the air thick with unspoken judgments and veiled glances. Leon Mathers, a man of quiet dignity, sat rigid in his wheelchair, the weight of his sincerity juxtaposed against the harsh scrutiny before him. His niece Raya's small hands clutched the arms of her seat, her wide eyes fixed on the judge, a silent plea for understanding in a world that saw her uncle's actions as violent rather than protective. As the testimonies unfolded, Leon felt the narrative slip further from his grasp. The lawyer's stammering words barely broke through the cacophony of accusations hurled at him. Kyle Denton stood at the center of it all, reveling in the power he wielded, twisting the truth until it shimmered like gold in the courtroom's harsh light. Leon's heart sank lower with every pointed finger, every derogatory remark that painted him as the villain in a story where he merely sought to shield his niece from danger. Then it happened. The judge, her voice steady, instructed Leon to stand. Gasps filled the room, but the pressure of 100 eyes bore down on him. He took a breath, muscles tightening in response to the weight of expectation. With effort that screamed of pain, he strained against his disability, the silence punctuated only by the creak of his chair and the tremor of his determination. The courtroom, once teeming with scorn, held its breath, witnessing the struggle of a man who fought not just for leniency, but for dignity. Leon's heart raced, not from fear of the verdict about to be rendered, but from the familiar flame of injustice that ignited within him. In that crucible of pressure, he realized he could no longer be an unyielding victim of circumstance. He would rise, not just physically, but from the confines of societal expectation. The moment lingered, charged with electricity, as hope blurred with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Bond felt the weight of the courtroom's gaze as Judge Rohr's voice echoed. "Mr. Mathers, please stand." The silence was palpable. He had not stood in years. With effort that drew every ounce of strength, Leon gripped the armrests of his wheelchair, heart racing. "I can do this," he muttered under his breath, channeling thoughts of Raya, her wide, trusting eyes, and the love that had always fueled his fight. He pushed against the wheelchair, muscles shaking as he drew himself upward. The room held its breath, tightened. "I'm trying," he breathed, each word a quiet testament to his resolve. The tension in the room shifted subtly as whispers of admiration coursed through the spectators. Reggie, his public defender, watched with a mixture of fear and encouragement. "You got this, Leon. Just a little more." His own nervousness quivered behind a veneer of support. Finally, Leon straightened, a fraction of an inch taller, and yet so vastly transformed. The audience's soft murmurs reverberated like a quiet applause. He met the judge's gaze, a flame of determination igniting within. Judge Rohr's voice softened, shattering the severity of the moment. "You've shown courage today, Mr. Mathers. I see you." Leon sank back into his chair, relief washing over him. "Thank you for seeing me," he whispered, a nascent strength bubbling forth. As the judge pronounced her decision, Leon felt the first stirrings of victory. Community service instead of prison. The judgment stung, but it wasn't the end. It was a beginning. Raya's eyes sparkled with pride during their ride home. "You stood up for us, Uncle Leon." He smiled softly. "Sometimes standing means more than just rising, Raya. It's about what you fight for." This was just the first win in his journey. Leon's heart brimmed with resolve. He would reclaim his story and maybe, just maybe, inspire others to do the same. Alan Mathers feels the weight of the courtroom's gaze as he struggles to rise from his wheelchair, muscles trembling under the strain. With every inch he ascends, a mounting silence blankets the room, the kind that swallows breaths and words. Raya, his niece, watches wide-eyed, her delicate hands clenched, feeling every pulse of anxiety reverberating through the air. Tag. The judge, Honorable Judge Rohr, observes closely, her compassionate eyes betraying the authority she wields. "Mr. Mathers," she commands gently, "please rise for the court." The intent isn't lost on anyone. This isn't just about standing, it's about recognition. The acknowledgement of a man who has battled his own demons while serving others. Leon finally achieves his standing position, a mix of pride and palpable pain evident on his face. In contrast, Kyle Denton fidgets. His bravado from the confrontation fades under the unforgiving scrutiny of truth. The audience catches the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes as Raya recounts the fear that gripped her heart that day, a raw honesty that punctures through the pretense Kyle hoped to maintain. "He was just protecting me," she states firmly, her voice unwavering. The weight of her testimony hangs heavy, contrasting starkly with Kyle's defensive manipulations. As Rohr delivers her verdict, community service and counseling rather than imprisonment, Leon can barely breathe. Relief washes over him. He had feared being reduced to a label, but today he stands not as a veteran on trial, but as a protector, a beloved uncle. The courtroom's tension shifts. Whispers of admiration ripple through the gallery. Outside, in the car, Raya searches her uncle's face, her voice a soft balm. "You stood for us, Uncle Leon." His heart swells, overwhelmed by the emotional gravity of the moment. "It's more than just standing, Raya. It's about being seen and knowing we matter." As they drive home, the clarity settles around them. Justice might not shine with grand gestures, but in its quiet resoluteness, it exposes truths, it dismantles facades. The community, once polarized, now grapples with the forest of perceptions shifting with newfound understanding. Leon smiles softly, the warmth of familial love wrapping around him, while Kyle on the margins realizes that sometimes exposure is the truest form of defeat. As I sit back and reflect on that fateful day in court, I realize how deeply it changed me. The struggle to stand against all odds wasn't just a physical effort, but a metaphor for the resilience that life demands. My heart ached as I witnessed the subtle differences in how people viewed me, this man who had given so much for his country, now reduced to headlines and labels. Yet in that moment, I found clarity. The love for my niece Rhea fueled every ounce of determination within me. In the aftermath, I understood that strength sometimes looks like vulnerability, and the need to protect those we care for can lead us down roads of peril. Was my reaction justified in the eyes of others? Have I become a cautionary tale or a voice for resilience? Have you ever had someone treat you like that? I invite you to share your experiences. Let's explore these stories together, weighing the complexities of right and wrong, power and justice. What does it mean to stand up for what we believe in?